Good morning. My name is Carla Ritz. I am the Executive Director for First Five of Lake County. And First Five is so proud to be able to host today's webinar. At First Five, our vision is that one day the success of Lake County's children, as well as California, will be measured by the well-being of our youngest children. And our mission is to build the early childhood systems and supports that are needed to ensure that our youngest children are safe and healthy and ready to succeed in school and life. And our webinar today is a step in that direction because the better we are as a workforce at communicating and connecting with people, the better job we're going to do at serving children and families. So we are very, very grateful for the partnership between Lake County Child Welfare Services and Chabot, Las Positas Community College District, for providing the funding to make today's webinar possible. And today we are going to be joined by service providers from across our county, including folks in education, social work, healthcare, behavioral health, and family outreach. And we're also pleased to welcome so many of you from other counties across California as well. So thank you so much for being here and bringing all of yourself to our gathering today. Just for housekeeping, we ask that you keep yourself on mute unless you have a question or you're engaging when the speaker asks a question. And you can also leave comments and questions in the chat. So feel free to use that feature. And even though you'll be on mute, please stay engaged. We are here together in this space and we definitely want to keep our energy level up and keep engaged. This is about communication. So we want to make sure that we are in a two-way dialogue here, even if it's just with eye contact. So stay with us today. And the more you put in, the more you're going to get out of our time together. The webinar will be recorded and posted on the First Five Lake YouTube channel later today with a password, and you'll be able to view that for up to 30 days after our time together. So without further ado, I would love to introduce to you our speaker today. Our trainer is Betsy Allen Manning. She is the founder of Motivate You Enterprises, and she is a best-selling author and has been featured on Fox, CBS, NBC, ABC, and TEDx. And as a former manager of five-star hotels and with her expertise in human behavior, she has trained over 7,500 leaders and teams for small businesses, franchises, and associations, all the way up to multi-billion-dollar corporations like Toshiba, Fidelity, Six Flags, and the U.S. Department of Defense. Before that, Betsy headlined shows around the world as a professional singer. But I've heard that if you ask her to sing, she's going to ask us to join her. So be careful what you ask for. She's also quite the daredevil, having been skydiving twice. Any other skydivers on our call? No, we're a little worried. Skydiving twice, bungee jumping, walking across hot coals, jumping off the stratosphere, and hiking Mountain Marathon in Alaska. So she's not going to ask us to jump off any buildings with her today, but she is going to dare us to live like we were born to make a difference. So please join me in welcoming human behavior expert and part-time adventure junkie, Betsy Allen Manning. Thank you so much, Betsy.
Awesome, Carla. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. For those of you that don't have it on speaker view, if you want, you can go ahead and look at those three prongs. If you scroll your mouse over my little square, you'll see three little prongs there. You can click pin and you can pin me so that way it's full screen and you'll be able to see when we go to the PowerPoint slides as well. So I want to thank y'all for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here to develop yourselves personally and professionally. And I truly believe this is not only one of my favorite topics to speak on, but I do truly believe that this is one of the most important tools you will learn in your life when it comes to communicating with different personality styles, being more effective with people, and getting better outcomes with people as well. Now, just to make sure everybody has this, if you do not have the worksheet that we sent out, please put it in the chat box here because this is really important that you have actually printed these up. That's why I didn't make it so it's a fillable one. You actually need to interact with these worksheets. If you get a chance right now, before we dive into the real content, make sure you get that printed now. It's going to help you have a better learning experience. I also want to help you have the absolute best and fun learning experience today. All right, I'm not going to be lecturing the whole time. And by the way, this is going to be very interactive. And just like Carla said, the more you participate, the more you're going to get out of it. So I have a couple tips for you to have a great learning experience. First, make sure you know where the chat box is and be ready to interact, because I'm going to ask you throughout to chat in your answers. Like I said, the more you put in, the more you get out of this. Second, avoid multitasking. So studies actually show that multitasking causes a 10% drop in IQ, and it lowers your attention rate by 40%. Who wants a higher IQ today? So keep the multitasking aside. And that being said, close out of your emails, any other websites that you have up, and any other work on your desktop. Grab a coffee and give yourself this opportunity to really grow. You know, my father once told me, if you're not willing to give 100% when you don't think it matters, you most likely won't give it when it does. So I'm going to ask every single one of you to be a 100%er today. All right, so we're going to start with something fun. As a human behavior expert, I've looked at different studies how to activate the brain and wake it up. So studies show that if that brain is activated before a learning experience, you retain more information. So on the next slide, I'm going to show you, it's called a brain teaser. And there's going to be 4 different pictures and a letter. And what I want you to do is determine the phrase that the word that each picture makes, put them together and determine the phrase that it makes. And I'm going to give you a hint. It has something to do with our topic today. All right. When you know the answer, I want you to put it in the chat box. Okay. So we're going to start, and I'm going to kind of walk you through this so you understand as we go. All right. Let's see who can get this answer in first. On your marks, get set, go. Okay, so the first picture, if you're looking in the upper left-hand corner, says over. I want you to look where the arrow is pointing. Okay, where the arrow is pointing. So what would that word be if over is up top? Yeah, there you go. Thank you. I've got F. Hibbert. I'm not sure the first name, but thank you for putting that in there. So if you go to the right, then the lady is sitting and the arrow is pointing where the man is what? That's going to be the next word. Yeah, you got it. All right, I only have one person chatting in right now. Let's get some more people chatting in. All right, the next one, the lower left, the guy is looking through what on a door? What is he looking through where the arrow is pointing? What do we call those?
A hole.
Yeah, there you go. Yep, the peephole. Yep, the next one, you go to Vegas and you place a what? And I'm okay if you unmute yourselves. We're on this, if you want to give the answer that way. Oh my goodness, look at that. Elizabeth Anderson, you got it right on. Understanding. That was huge. We didn't even get through the whole thing. So you put them all together, and Elizabeth Anderson rocked it right there. Understanding people better. And the key thing I want you to understand here is that when you understand people better, you can create a better outcome and experience with them. And do you know, over 60% of the time, people claim to have a bad experience when interacting with others. So I want you to think about this for a second. 60% of the time is a pretty large amount of time. Have you ever maybe taken a flight before and you're sitting next to someone on the airplane? How many of you are like me and you like to talk to the person next to you? Let me see, show of hands. I can see some of you, or you can type in yes in the chat box. Yeah, some of you do. And how many of you wish the rest of us would just be quiet and mind our own business? It's okay, we're not offended. Well, let's say you get talking to that person next to you, and there's no judgment whatsoever, but there's something about them that rubs you the wrong way. You can't even put your finger on it. There's just something about them that seems a little off. Anyone ever had that experience before? Yeah, we all have. How about the salesperson? You ever meet that one salesperson that they just seem slimy? There's something about them that you're like, oh, I'm not buying from this person. I don't trust them as far as I could throw them, right? You've had that experience too. Well, studies show you're going to feel that way over 60% of the time when interacting with others. Do you know what that also means? That over 60% of the time, people are going to feel that way when interacting with you. And as a human behavior expert, I started to wonder why this happens so often. And what I realized is people are operating out of what we call unconscious communication. So unconscious communication is when we interact in a way that feels comfortable to ourselves. So kind of like the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? We've all heard the golden rule. Now, that works for building foundational respect. So if you don't like when people are late, don't be late for them. If you don't like when people lie, don't lie to them either. That's the golden rule. However, this doesn't work when it comes to the way we communicate with others, because communication is not one size fits all. And different people and different personalities prefer to communicate differently. So I want to ask you, what challenges do you think come with having different personalities and perceptions in your line of work? Go ahead and put your answers in the chat box. What challenges come with having different personalities and perceptions in your line of work? Let's hear some of your answers in that chat box. Okay, I don't know if F. is saying icebreakers are a challenge, or Cindy Counter says misunderstandings. Yes. Yeah, I love that. Carla says misconstrued ideas about each other. Sharon says different interpretations. Yes. Julian says communication barriers. Absolutely. Yeah, I've got more coming. Myra says communication in general. Yep, Elizabeth. Going fast there. It says, make inappropriate judgments. Isn't that the truth? Cynthia said, different ways something should be handled. Ooh, that's huge. Sharon says, assumptions. Yes. Sandra, different interpretations also, and communication. Yeah, y'all, thank you. I love that you're chiming in and you're giving some of your feedback here. And these are all valid challenges that we have with different personalities. So instead of using unconscious communication, I'm going to suggest that you use what we call adaptive communication. And adaptive communication is when you see the world through someone else's lenses, and then you adapt for a more successful outcome. You know, this, by the way, when you see the world through someone else's lenses, it alleviates up to 90% of the stress and conflict that we have with others. Y'all, I'm going to say that number again, because I don't know if you heard it. 90% of the stress and conflict that you experience with other people can be eliminated and reduced simply because you're seeing the world through someone else's lenses. And it helps you go from frustration to celebration. So I don't know if you know this, but there's over 6,500 languages that are spoken worldwide. Now, do you guys know what you call someone that speaks 2 languages? It's a pretty simple answer. It's not a trick question. Go ahead and put it in the chat box. What do you call someone that speaks 2 languages? Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, Carla, desktop. I got Mira, F. Yeah, Maria, Laura. Yeah, bilingual is absolutely correct. Okay, do you know what you call someone that speaks 3 languages? Trilingual, yeah, Carla got it in there first there. Okay, you know what you call someone who only speaks 1 language? American. Just kidding. Okay. No. Do you know what you call someone that speaks 4 languages? Anyone know? Some of y'all are Googling it right now, aren't you? Multilingual. We actually call someone that speaks 4 languages a master communicator. And today you are going to learn the 4 languages of D, I, S, and C. These are the 4 different personality styles, and you are going to learn how to communicate better with each one of them. Now, how many of you have ever heard of DISC before? Type in yes if you've heard of DISC, or maybe you've taken an assessment before. What I hear a lot of the times is people say, yes, I've taken the assessment. I say, great. How did it change the way you interact with others? I didn't, because I didn't know what to do with it. So today I want to show you actually what to do. You're going to understand yourselves better, and you're going to understand how to interact with others better. But first, DISC, sometimes people think it's a manipulation tool. And I want to help you understand what it's not, because I say if you use this ethically, and that's what I want to say to you, is you can have more influence with people, you can motivate people, you can encourage people better, you can build better relationships with people. And I want to just challenge you that everything you're going to learn today, use this ethically, and then you don't have to worry about it being a manipulation tool. So at first I want to tell you what DISC is not. It's not a test. This isn't something that when you do take the assessment, there's a right or wrong answer, because you're just describing what best suits you, what is most predominant in you. And by the way, you have all 4 personality styles in you. Studies show you're going to have a couple that are more predominant than others. And secondly, DISC is not a box. This is not to go, this is what you are, put you inside this box, and that's all you're ever going to be. Like I said, you're all 4 personality styles. The goal is to help level you out a bit and not to change your personality style, but to know what your blind spots are and operate in your strength zone. You know, one thing I want to encourage you is please don't go home and tell your friends or your spouse or, you know, family members, you're a D and that's all you'll ever be. That's why you act like this. One thing I want you to understand is that people don't like to be labeled, but they love to be understood. And this is a tool to help you understand yourself and others better. All right, so what is DISC then? First of all, it's a mirror. It's to show us our greatest strengths and help us be more aware of what our greatest blind spots are. Second, it's a measuring tool. DISC is a scientifically proven model of human behavior that helps us measure the way people communicate, the way they behave, how they're motivated, how they make decisions, and so forth. And last but not least, and this is my favorite, DISC is a predictor. If you understand how someone is most likely going to respond in any situation, you can then adapt your communication style to get a better outcome with them. And that's what I'm excited to teach you about today. So we're going to go to this sheet on your worksheets. Go ahead and go there where it's called the numbers game. The numbers game. Hopefully you have that printed up. You could still follow along if it's not printed, but you're going to have so much better experience if it is. All right. Yeah. And thank you, Carla. She put the worksheets in the chat box for you there. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to have 1 minute, just 1 minute to circle as many numbers as you can, starting at number 1, going through number 88. Now don't start yet. Okay. The goal here is not just to circle any number. It's to circle them in consecutive order. All right. So I'm going to give you 1 minute, circle as many as you can. Ready and go. Okay, stop there. All right, go ahead and put it in the chat box. Your number, how many you were actually able to get to that time. Let's see it. Okay, we got 15, 26, 12, 14, 15, 18, 17, 13, 23. Go Scott, overachiever. All right, yeah, 9, 20. Yep. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm super excited. So we're going to get to do this again, but this time I'm going to reveal a hidden pattern. And when I reveal this hidden pattern, you should be able to almost double the number that you got the first time. You were able to get to the first time. So in order to do this, first I need you to draw a line down the middle of your page. You're going to see a tick mark at the top by number 66, and then another one down by number 84. So go ahead and draw the line down the middle of your page. All right. And now I also want you to draw a line down this across the center of the page, tick mark above number 79 and another tick mark above number 80. All right. So now that you have drawn those lines, we now have 4 quadrants, yes? So what I'm going to ask you to do is look at the first quadrant in the upper left-hand corner. And what number do you see in the middle there? Number 1, right? Y'all see number 1 right in the middle? Okay, if you look to the upper right side, what number do you see? Number 2 in the middle? Where do you think number 3 is? Down in the lower left-hand corner, if you look in the middle there, you'll see number 3. And then if you look in the lower right side, toward the bottom, you see number 4. So where do you think number 5 is? Yeah, back up into the upper left-hand corner. So you're gonna get to do this again. Don't start yet. I know some of you are overachievers, want to start. So this time you're going to put an X through each number. You're going to start at number 1 again, and you're going to put an X through each number. You should be able to get a better score than last time. On your marks, get set, go. All right, everybody stop there, stop there. All right, now go ahead and put in the number you got on this one. Woo, look at these numbers, 35, 20, 35, 45, 37, 39, 39, 28, woo, 35, 31, 32, 42, 37. Y'all definitely got more the second time around. You know what's interesting is, you know, the first time, for those of you that had your cameras on, the first time I'm watching your faces and the Jeopardy music kind of stresses you out a little, doesn't it? Because you're on that timer. And I'm watching and people are going like this. They're kind of stressing out a little bit. So, you know, you've got a little bit more stress and lower productivity. And the second time I'm watching and you're having more fun. It's, you know where things are. So you're going, I got this, I got this. If you could see the people next to you, you'd be poking them going, watch me, look at me go. And you know what I love about it is that first time around, you have higher stress and lower productivity. And the second time around, you have lower stress and higher productivity. And when you understand the people puzzle, then you're able, life is a lot more like game number 2. You have less stress with people and you have more productivity and get better outcomes altogether. Listen, understanding the people puzzle is one of the most important skills that you will ever develop in life. And the strategies you're going to learn today, by the way, they're not my opinion, just so you know. They come from a scientifically proven model of human behavior known as DISC. I'm a certified level 2 specialist with DISC, and the strategies, this program you're learning today has also been used for companies like Lockheed Martin, Fidelity, Asset Plus, BMW, Discover, Blue Cross Blue Shield, right? And even our US Department of Defense. So if it's good enough for them, hopefully you feel that this is good enough for you as well. So just to give you some insight into what you're going to get out of today. First, we'll help you discover your greatest strengths and be aware of your blind spots so that you can operate at your strength zone daily and develop the most important skill as the leader that you are. Second, we'll help you discover other personality styles, communication preferences, their greatest priorities, and their biggest peeves. What are the things that irk them, right? That get on their nerves. It's important to know it. And third, I'll help you discover strategies to adapt your interaction styles so you can gain more trust, respect, reduce conflict with others, have more successful outcomes, and truly just take the guesswork out of interacting with others. I don't know about you, I'm excited. So let's dive into those 6 keys to successful interactions. So if you would, make sure you go to this page here, which has, you'll see the different Friends characters that are on there. Y'all remember the show Friends back in the day? I always just love that show so much. We're still watching the reruns from it on DVD. So we're having some fun with that. So I want to start with key number 1. There's 6 keys. I'm going to start with key number 1 here, where you're going to see it says key number 1, interact outgoing. And then at the bottom of the page, it says interact reserved. Now you have both of these traits within you, but studies show you're going to lean a little bit more one way than the other. So let me help you determine which one may be most like you. If you're more outgoing, you tend to speak before you think. You tend to verbalize your feelings. You tend to interact with people a lot more. So, if you're at let's say a networking event and you don't know a lot of people there, if you're more outgoing, you'd probably go up to people that you don't even know and just start talking to them. That's how our outgoing people are. Now, if you're more reserved, you tend to process while others think. You tend to internalize your feelings a bit more and then keep to yourself a little bit more as well. You prefer, working alone. For someone that keeps to themselves, if you go to a networking event, you may not go up to people and start interacting. You may, get a refreshment, take a seat somewhere and wait for someone to approach you. Now, I want you to understand something. Neither one of these are better than the other. They're just different. I like to say God didn't make a mistake when he made any of us, right? So who you are, you're wired that way for a reason and for a purpose. So which one, if you had to choose just one for this time together today, would you say that you're more outgoing or would you say you're more reserved? Go ahead and put it in the chat box for us. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, Sharon's a little bit more reserved. Crystal's outgoing. Okay, we've got a lot of reserves here. Maria, Cindy, Carla, Scott, Sarah. Oh, Sarah's outgoing. Okay, there we go. Yep, Elizabeth outgoing, Mayra reserved, April outgoing. Good. I love that we have a really good blend, a mix of both personality styles. Okay, Laura reserved, F. Hebrid reserved as well. Great. Love to see this. Okay. So now that we know which one you feel you're most like, and by the way, you're not married to this. If you want to change it halfway through this, you can change it as well. All right. Now we're going to go to key number 2, which is task. So some of you are, which is our focus. So some of you are more task focused and some of you are more people focused. Like I said, you have both of these styles within you. However, studies show you will lean a little bit more one way than the other. And by the way, when I say a little bit, it could be 51% one way and 49% the other. That's how close it could be. But I do need you to choose one for today. So let me help you understand them. If you're more task focused, you like to make checklists, right? You're probably the type of person too that if you finish a task that wasn't on your checklist, you're going to put that on just so you can check it off as well. You love getting things done. You get it. That's what drives you. You like plans and processes in place. If you're more people focused, you like building relationships with other people. You focus on the feelings and opinions of others, and you tend to share your emotions more often. So you're probably thinking, well, it depends on the situation. They kind of both describe me. So let me help you with this. Let's say you're a leader of a team, and you're working on a project together. And halfway through the project, you figure that one of the team members, we'll call her Mary. No offense if anyone's saying Mary here, but let's say Mary wasn't working out too well, and you had to let her go. Well, if you're more task focused, at the end of that project, you would say, well, I'm sorry I had to let Mary go, but we've got the right team on board now, and I'm so proud of them for finishing this task, getting this done, and getting it done the time frame we wanted. If you're more people focused, you would say, well, I'm proud of our team. We got it done on the time frame that we wanted. I've got to find a way to celebrate them and make sure they all understand and know that they feel that they're accomplished something together as a team. And I feel so bad about Mary. I hope she's okay. Should I call her? I just hated to let her go during that time. That's how you can kind of tell which one you are. So that being said, how many of you would say you're more task focused and how many of you would say you're more people focused? All right. So we got a lot of people on, and I would say in your line of work, I can totally understand how people would definitely be on there. I love it though. We've got a lot of task in here as well. Yep. We've got a lot of people focused. Let's see if we get some more task focused in here. It makes so much sense, you guys, that your line of work. It's interesting because if you look at, if I was on with all tech people or engineers, we would see the majority of people would say task on there. So your industry tends to attract a certain type. Okay, yeah, Sharon's task. Okay, good. We've got a couple tasks in there. I love to see that. Okay, so now just by asking you those 2 questions. That's it. I said, are you more outgoing or reserved? Are you more task or people focused? 2 questions. Just from those 2 questions alone, I'm going to help determine which is your most predominant trait within you. Now, this is a verbal assessment. If you want to actually take the actual online assessment, which takes about 20 minutes, you can go to my website. It's listed there at the bottom of the screen, betsyallenmanning.com. They're just $13 and you can get assessment sent to your email. All right. So here's how we're going to divide the group. All right. If you said that you are task focused and outgoing, go ahead and circle the letter D. If you said task focused and outgoing, circle the letter D. If you said that you are people focused and outgoing, I want you to circle the letter I. Okay, people focused and outgoing, circle the letter I. All right, if you said that you are people focused and more reserved, I want you to circle the letter S. This is where I would imagine a lot of you would be. All right. And if you are more task focused and reserved, circle the letter C. All right. And go ahead and chat in DISC, whichever one that you put in there. All right. Sharon is a C. Awesome. All right. Oh, we got I, C, S. S, yep, Sarah's D. We got some D's coming up in here. We've got a good blend today. This is going to be so awesome for our case studies a little bit later on. Okay, Laura's S, Terry S, Maria S. Good, good. This is such a great blend in this group today. All right, Rosemary, you're an I. Okay. Now I know how to better interact with you. All right, I'm so excited. Here we go. So we're going to move on now to key number 3. Key number 3, and that's where we're going to dive into each personality style, describing them a little bit more. So let's start with the D in DISC, which stands for driver. What's it stand for? Say it out loud. Driver, there you go. All right, they're called driver because for them, they do not like to be in the passenger seat. This person always wants to be in the driver's seat. They like to be in control at all times. They're extremely fast-paced. So for them, I always like to say if each personality style were a car, our drivers would be a Ferrari. I mean, they got places to go, people to see, things to do. And if you don't get out of their way, they were going to verbally honk at you or run you over. Some of y'all are laughing because you know who this is. It's either you or you know who it is with you there. So the first thing you want to fill in is you want to look at to determine which style someone is, to determine that, is looking at the way that they communicate. And our driver's communication style is direct. It's direct, to the point, tell it like it is. And if you don't like it, that's your problem because you should be able to handle the truth. All right, they're very direct. Now, one of the greatest strengths of our drivers, something I admire so much about our high drivers, is that they are determined. Nothing will stop them from getting something accomplished. They usually accomplish more in one day than most people can accomplish in an entire week. And when they're determined to get something done, they won't let anything stop them. They're extremely resilient. They have a positive focus and mindset. And by the way, they're great to have around you because they'll help you accomplish more as well. All right, now drivers, we all have our greatest strengths, yet we all have our greatest blind spots as well. And sometimes the overuse of your greatest strengths can become your greatest blind spot. So for you drivers, sometimes you can be a little too demanding. And that means when you want something done, instead of asking someone to do it, you just demand that they do it. Instead of saying, hey, would you mind taking out the garbage today, to the spouse, you would say, take out the garbage, it needs to be done today, right? So we sometimes need to learn when we're communicating with another personality style to soften that up a bit. And last but not least, it's important to know how each personality style is motivated, especially in your line of work. Because if you understand how a parent is motivated, a social worker is motivated, how a child is motivated, whatever it may be for you. When you understand how someone is most likely motivated, it helps you understand how to kind of get them to think a different way and move them toward the outcome that you both want together. So for our drivers, they are motivated by challenges and control. So, I always like to say, if you're a leader and you got a team working on a group project, for your driver, you could put them in charge of the project. It's a challenge for them, and they get to be in control, which is something that they absolutely love. All right, moving on to the right side where you see Joey from Friends. I'm gonna go key number 3, and they are called our inspirers. And they're called inspired because they're the most fun, loving, life of the party kind of person that you'll ever meet. They love having a bunch of friends and people around them and having a good time. So if they were a car, they would have to be a limo. Because where else can you get all your buddies together and have a good time? So how do you determine if someone is an inspirer? Just look at the way they communicate. Inspirers are very interactive. So they tend to want to speak to you, but they want you to speak back with them and have a fun and interactive conversation. They want to create an experience with you and make it exciting. They're very animated when they're speaking as well, so you'll recognize that in them. Next, one of their greatest strengths, something I love about our inspirers, is they are influential. Because they have this charismatic personality and they love people, they tend to have a higher level of influence. Some people kind of flock to them. And inspirers, that just means that with that kind of influence, that means that you also have a responsibility to understand who's following you as well. Now, our greatest blind spot for an inspirer is they tend to be a little impulsive when they're decision making. And anyone that's an inspirer on here, you know what I'm talking about. You're the type of person, if you watch an infomercial and you see something that you want, it's not a want, it's a need, and I have to have it now. And you would buy it. In the workplace, what we do is an inspirer would say, I can take that on. Yes, I can take that on too. Yeah, give me more. And they just say yes to everything because they get excited about it. And then they realize, I can't do it all. So just being careful of yourself and knowing you tend to be impulsive, take time to think things through. All right, so how are our inspirers motivated? They love to have praise, and it's got to be genuine praise. We can all smell insincerity a mile away. Praise and social activities. So if you can give them a social activity where they're praised at the same time, maybe it's some kind of a rewards program or something you're doing, and you get to praise someone for a great job, they're going to absolutely thrive on that. All right, let's go now down in the lower right-hand corner. And key number 3, we have our supporter. And they're called supporter because they are the kindest, sweetest, most loving people you'll ever meet in your life. They would do anything for anyone, including to their own detriment sometimes. Now, if they were a car, I'd say that they were a classy BMW SUV. This is the car that would go around the neighborhood picking up all the other soccer kids going to soccer practice and everything. They bring snacks along for everyone just in case a mom forgot to give their kid a snack, and they'd even include the gluten-free snack for that one kid that can't have the gluten. That's just how friendly they are. They love everyone. So how do you determine who they are? Just look at the way they communicate. Now, they're more reserved. So besides being sweet, which is their communication style, they're also going to be, they're not as outspoken. They tend to speak slower than our drivers and our inspirers. So you want to remember to slow yourself down when you're speaking to them as well, so you don't overwhelm them when you're talking like this. That will help you gain more rapport with them as well. Our motor style, by the way, is one of the reasons it causes 50% of the disconnect we have with others. So if you notice someone having a faster pace and more energy, bring your energy and your pace up to match them. If you notice someone with a slower pace and more reserved energy, then slow your pacing and your energy down, and they're just going to naturally think there's something about this person I like. Don't know what it is, but I like it. Otherwise, it's going to go the opposite way. And they're going to say there's something about this person that's annoying, and that's the last thing that we want to do with them. All right, so one of our supporters' greatest strengths, and I love this, my sister is a high S, and she works in the healthcare nursing industry, and it's stable. Our supporters are the most stable people you'll ever meet. And when I say that for my sister, I love that I can depend on every time I talk to her on the phone. I know she's going to have that same personality, the same energy. Sometimes our DNRIs can do this. Woo, you have no idea which personality you're going to get from day to day. But with our supporters, you always know who you're going to get in their work and in who they are as a person. And by the way, if you're working with a teenager that is normally a supporter that you can tell, and they can get unstable, it's because they're surrounded by an environment that is causing them chaos. And by our supporters actually tend to retreat when they're in that type of environment. So those are key things to pay attention to as well, always providing that safe environment for them. Okay, supporters, one of the things you need to learn how to do is speak up. This is a blind spot for you, because you want to do everything for anyone. You don't want to offend anybody. So sometimes when it comes time to handle conflict, you don't, because you avoid it at all costs. But sometimes speaking up is the exact thing that you need to do to help the situation. So learning to speak up is going to be very helpful for you. And how do you motivate a supporter? Well, they want, like I said before, they want an environment that is secure and safe, and they want to know that they're appreciated for what they do. Appreciated for the value they bring to the table, appreciated for the person that they are, the sweet, sweet person. All right, let's move on to the C, okay, which is key number 3 over on the bottom left-hand side, and they are known as a calculator, or as I like to say, calculator. They are called calculators because before every move they make, they are going to mitigate if there are any risk or pitfalls that come with making that move. Even before they speak, you'll learn with this person, they don't speak before they think. All right, did I say that right? They do? Yeah, they don't speak before they think. They think before they speak. And they usually take a lot more time to process what someone's saying, and you need to give them that time to process it and then get that out. They're usually the smartest people in any room you walk into. So therefore, if they were a car, they'd have to be a Tesla, a smart car, right? All right, so how do they communicate? Because we need to determine who this is. They communicate with certainty. They're going to speak in facts and details. This is a person that they know every fact, they know every detail. So when they're speaking to you, they're very certain that what they're saying is the absolute truth. For them, one of their greatest strengths is that they're extremely competent. They do what they do because they're the best at it. And they do everything with a very high level of excellence. Now, sometimes the overuse of your greatest strengths can be your greatest weakness. So for my calculators listening here, understand that sometimes, you already know this, you can be a little too critical of others. And when I say critical, it's not everybody has that same level of excellence that you do. So giving people some leeway to be themselves and help coach them up in a way. And last but not least, how are our calculators motivated? They're motivated by having systems and processes in place. They feel they can do more, perform better, give the highest level of excellence. And by the way, if there are not systems and processes in place, guess what? That's the person to help put them into place. They are brilliant, absolutely brilliant at that. So even asking some of the foster kids, if they're a high C personality, they're going to appreciate you asking them, how can we make this system better or this process better? So there's a lot of ways you can use this understanding of personality styles. Now I want to know from you, okay, this is going to be a hard question for some of you to answer because you don't want to offend anyone, but you're not going to offend anyone, I'll tell you that. We want to know, this is for a chance to help the other personality styles grow. So which personality style do you struggle with the most and why? Go ahead and put it in the chat box. And Crystal says, I've never heard more truer words of my personality. Yeah. So I'm seeing some people struggle with calculator, but let me ask you to go a little bit deeper and why. Why does a particular personality style? D, because they seem cold and demanding. Okay, so this is good for our drivers. Look, you're all leaders. So if you're to be emotionally intelligent and go to that next level and have better conversations, we have to be able to look within. And this is our chance to do exactly that. Okay, impulsivity unnerves me. Okay, so that would be the I probably of someone being impulsive. Inspire, don't identify with impulsivity. Okay, yep, I understand that. Inspire, because it's hard for me to match that energy. Yeah, and you don't have to match. So I'll tell you this, I'm a high ISD, and my eye sometime when I was a kid was out of control. I wouldn't ask anybody to try and match that, but at least bring it up a little bit to connect with them. So I'm seeing a couple others on here. Okay, calculator, because they don't want to talk. They want to talk at you and want to tell you what they know. Yeah, and sometimes they don't take other ideas. So calculators, it's important to know people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that means taking time to listen to them as well. Driver, I believe the hardest part is when the control is too much. So drivers sometimes do have to relinquish that control. D, because it may be too controlling. Okay. I and S, and F. Hibbert, it'd be great for you to elaborate on that a little for us. Let's see, calculator, know it all can be good and bad. So yes, yeah, it can be helpful. And sometimes we need to know whether our overuse of our greatest strengths can become our what? Our greatest weakness. Every personality style does it. Yep. Is not easy. It isn't easy being a calculator. This is, by the way, this is not to get you down on who you are. This is to help you understand you have a gift in who you are. But not everybody operates the same way you do. So this is learning, so people may see me differently than I think they do. And this is to give you the lenses that other people may see you through. Okay, these can be hard to reason with. Yeah, it says, right, Carla says right there with you, Sharon. Yeah. So, and by the way, every personality goes through these struggles. But something I want you to understand is that you will never be able to see someone's strengths if you're only focused on what you perceive to be their weakness. And I'm going to say that one more time because I think it's that important. You will never be able to see someone's strengths if you're only focused on what you perceive to be their weaknesses. And that's the goal of today, is to see through someone else's lenses and see the best in them. All right, let's go now to key number 4, which is the peeves of someone else. This is what ticks them off a little bit. So let's start with Monica, our D, our high Ds, right? Over in the upper left. One of them would be indecision. Drivers can probably all relate to this. If someone cannot make a decision, it drives them crazy. And it could be a simple one, like, where do you want to go to lunch today? Well, I don't know, wherever you want to go. Okay, well, here's 2 options for you, Taco Bell or McDonald's. We'll make it easy. The healthy choices, Taco Bell or McDonald's. I don't know, wherever you want to go. I mean, I'm kind of in the mood for McDonald's, but kind of could go for Taco Bell. Oh my gosh, just make a decision. So understand, drivers want you to be able to make a decision when they ask you for one. Drivers do not like being told what to do. They like to tell others, but they do not like being told what to do. So we teach drivers by asking them instead of telling them. And then we can say to them, I'd like you to ask me as well. All right, drivers, the last one, unproductive people, because they accomplish so much, because for them, it's all about productivity and how much you get done in a day and how fast you can get it done. So if other people are not as productive as them, then guess what? They won't respect you. Any of these crimes, if you commit any of these crimes that a driver considers crimes, they won't respect you. And by the way, are you building a good relationship with someone if they don't respect you? Probably not. So this is why we want to understand their peeves. All right, inspires peeves. Let's move over there. Number 1, being isolated. You know, when kids are bad, when you're little and you put them in the corner facing the wall. Anyone, I don't know if they do that in school anymore, but anyone ever go through that before? Or, yeah, Carla, of course you weren't. You never had to go through that because you're a C. You're probably the good child. As a high I child, I got put there a lot, but that is torture for an inspirer, being isolated and put off to the side. Another one is being publicly shamed. And I want you to think about this, this can be a lot of kids you work with. It could even be some parents. I mean, being publicly shamed in front of other people. And that can take someone who's an inspired, has a fun, loving spirit, and can crush them to where they just don't want to show up at all. And then you're missing out on the best of them. Another one is negativity. They're one of the most optimistic groups you'll ever meet. And for them, if someone's constantly complaining or gossiping and putting other people down, for them, the negativity is an absolute turnoff. And if you commit any of these crimes here, they won't like you. And if they don't like you, you're going to have a harder time building that solid relationship with them. All right, let's go to the supporters peeves down by Rachel from Friends. All right, so for them, insensitivity and rudeness. Insensitivity and rudeness, because they're the kindest people. So for them, they don't want to hear anybody else being rude, whether it's to them or whether it's to somebody else. Conflict. If there's conflict around them, that is a peeve for them, and that will make them retreat. Next is our impatient people. Because our supporters are so kind to others, and because they are slower paced and more reserved, a lot of the times people will just interrupt them because they can't get to that point quick enough. So I want to tell our D's and our I's, our drivers and inspirers, allow them, have the patience to allow them to finish what they're saying. And they will just love you for it. If you commit any of these crimes, they won't trust you. And if they don't trust you, you're going to have a really hard time with that relationship. All right, last but not least, our calculators peeves. All right, one, they can criticize others, but they do not like to be criticized. And the reason why is because they've done everything with such a high level of excellence that, like, how could you criticize the work that's any kind of work that's being done, because they're always performing at their absolute highest level of excellence. So the way you give feedback, any kind of feedback to a calculator, is very important. They do not like mediocrity in others because they're always performing at their best. They have such a high quality of work that they do in excellence. If someone else doesn't perform at that level or shows just a mediocrity in life, the average mindset, that will drive them absolutely crazy. Calculators are someone that you want around you if you've been operating with mediocrity, because they will help elevate you to that next level. And then the last one are illogical changes or answers. And that one's one of my favorite. If you're making some kind of change and you don't give a good enough reason why, they're not going to get on board with it. Or if you they ask you for an answer and you don't give them a logical answer, they won't get on board with that either. Any of those crimes, a calculator won't listen to you. And if they're not listening to you, guess what? You've lost them, and you're going to have a hard time building that relationship. Look, all of our personality styles, we all have peeves. And the thing is this is what causes that. Remember, I said the 90% of conflict that we have in life. Well, this is what causes the conflict, is not understanding someone else's expectations. And by the way, the definition of conflict is unmet expectations. Y'all catch that? One more time, I'm going to say it. The definition of conflict is unmet expectations. So when we expect someone else to interact the exact same way that we do, and they don't, that's when conflict begins. And this is where we can start eliminating it by understanding that not everybody operates the same way we do. So I want to know from you, go ahead and put in the chat box, how does it feel when you're unable to meet someone else's expectations to think or act the same way they do? How does it feel? Yeah, Crystal says it feels lousy. Yeah, Sharon says it's frustrating. Cindy says defeated. Carla, like I'm missing something. And frustrating. Can you imagine though, with the people that you're interacting with on a daily basis, if they might be feeling that way with you? Not that they are, but just something to be aware of and constantly thinking of. What are my expectations am I placing on others? And also realizing when somebody else puts an expectation on you, just kind of smiling, and instead of getting offended by it, saying it's their expectation. And I need to let them know whether I can truly meet it or not to honor who they are. I've never watched the show Friends. Oh, okay, Rosemary, your homework assignment. You watch one show, you're going to be hooked. I promise you. Yeah, Carla says you're forgiven. I agree with you on that. All right, next is the primary need. And this is so important. This is key number 5 on here. When I say primary need, each personality style has, this is like, I call it the fuel that we run on. And like a diesel engine takes what kind of fuel? Diesel, right? Not a trick question there. So every personality style has a certain fuel they run on. Without it, they're going to be demotivated, uninspired, and act out. With the fuel, they perform at their absolute best, and they have better relationships around them when their fuel is fed. For a driver, their primary need is getting results. Getting results. As long as they're getting results, bam, look out. They're feeling good. They're on a high that day. I mean, their life is great. All right, what about our Inspire's primary need? Look how different that is. Drivers is getting results. Inspire's primary need is having fun. So imagine you're working with someone and they're wanting to get results and you're just wanting to have fun. Yeah, can you start to see where we start to butt heads, where we start to get on each other's nerves, or where we start to maybe lose the relationship that we could be building? All right, supporters, their primary need is a peaceful environment. And as long as everything is peaceful, they are great. They can perform at their best, be at their best, always. All right, and last but not least, our calculator's primary need is being correct. Being correct. Which means, and by the way, they don't have a need to be correct to make you wrong. Their need to be correct, which is often misunderstood. Their need to be correct is they have such a high level of excellence. They have a need to want things to be right. So when things aren't, they feel a need that let's make this right here and show you how to do exactly that. All right, last but not least, let's go through key number 6, which is the percentage of the population that each of these are. All right, so for my drivers, you are only 10% of the population. That means 90% of the population does not think or act the same way you do. That's something to keep in mind. Inspires, you are 30% of the population. 30%, a little bit higher, but that means 70% of the population doesn't operate like you do. Supporters, you are our largest percentage of the population at 35%. Because Lord knows we needed those kind hearts out there. And last but not least, calculators, you already had it figured out. 25% of the population are calculators. All right, so this is my favorite part because now we get to do a learn it, live it case studies. And this is where you get to put everything that you just learned about each personality style to use. So Carla, here's where it comes in. I'm going to read this case study, and then we're going to put you all in breakout rooms. And what I want you to do is unmute yourselves when you get to the breakout rooms. You're going to discuss this together. And then Carla is going to go in each room. There's going to be 4 breakout rooms, D, I, S, and C. Make sense? And so if you're in the D room, you're going to answer the question as if you're a D. If you're in the I room, you're going to answer it as if you were an I. Okay, you guys get what I'm saying, S or C. So here's how it goes. You've been waiting in line at the bank for over an hour. You still have other errands to run, but you're up next. So you're feeling hopeful that you can still get all your errands done. Then out of nowhere, someone cuts in front of you and takes your spot, and as the teller calls them up. Oh no, they didn't. And what would you think? And how would you respond or resolve this issue if you were a high, and then insert the style that Carla gives you, if you were a high D, I, S, or C. So if someone cut in front of you as a high D, the whole goal of this is, and by the way, if you're a D in the group that you're in, don't give them all of your insight. I want you to let everybody else try and think of it first with what you've learned from today, all right? So you're going to discuss it together, and then volunteer or voluntold one person from your group is going to share with everyone afterwards, okay? We're going to give, Carla, we're going to give 5 minutes per group, so make sure you're actually working through this time together, all right? And we can go ahead and put you in breakout rooms. We'll see you in 5 minutes. And hopefully everyone in each group voluntold someone to, there we go. Do we have everybody here? Yep,
Yes.
we've got everybody back. Okay, great. And actually, so from our D group, who was our spokesperson from the D group, the drivers?
I was voluntold.
Okay, good, Crystal. Okay, so Crystal, so you're actually gonna answer the question for us in this situation. You've been waiting in line at the bank. You have other errands to run. You're up next, but out of nowhere, someone cuts in front of you and takes your spot. So, as a driver, what would you think, and how would you resolve the issue?
So we actually talked about it, and then the one driver in the group like kind of told us what they would do. So what we first talked about was that we think that they would probably like tell them, like, you know, say, hey, the line's back there, or like tell the teller, no, like I'm next actually, you know. And we didn't say not necessarily rude or anything, but just like being like to the point, like matter of fact, like that's not right. And then we kind of talked about how like for me, and anyways, I'm on the other side of it. So I said, like, if I was in the situation where I was the person that like cut in front of them, that I might not know, like it just depends on the scenario, you know. You might not have known where the line was. And so we talked about how like sometimes it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. Like if somebody were to approach me and say, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, the line's actually back there, I would have no problem with it. But if somebody were to be really direct and be like, hey, no, the line, you know, like just like how they say it, then I'd be like, oh my gosh, like I'd feel like horrible, like,
Yeah.
you know, just feel attacked. And then the driver in the group spoke after we answered it, and she actually said that it would annoy her. She might say something underneath her breath about it, but that she would just she actually wouldn't say anything, and she would take the time to like take out her phone and maybe get another task done that she has on her list to do. And she said it would be more annoying because she like her time, she takes her time like very seriously because she's a parent and she wants to like, she wants to get her stuff done, but she said she probably wouldn't say anything.
I love that. I wonder if her secondary style is C.
I know, I didn't ask, but I was thinking that.
Because if you look at someone's blend, that is why they would, you know, if it were, so that's the reason when we're doing this, I always say what we're think and how would they resolve the issue if they were a high D. We're talking the highest level of D, and not thinking about the other personality styles that would be involved with it. How would they most likely respond? So great job on that. Round of applause for those of you that are muted. By the way, I don't know if you know this, in sign language, this is copying. So yes. All right. So great job. Thank you, Crystal. Who is the spokesperson for the I group? For the Inspires? Or just come on out if someone wants to be the spokesperson for the Inspires. Let's see. Who wants to help us here? Or did we have anybody in the Inspires group?
That group should have been Scott, Sandra, Sharon, Cindy, Myra.
All right, Scott, I'm voluntolding you. Scott, would you mind speaking up for us? Is he still here?
I don't. Yes, Scott's here.
Okay, Sharon says she was in the supporter group. Huh.
He might have gotten distracted.
Okay. Well, all right. So I will just help with this one. Or actually,
Sharon.
Sharon said she was in the supporter group.
Oh.
Yeah. With this one. Okay. So let me just ask you guys. For an I, think about the I's personality, the inspirer. So just think about their personality. Go ahead and unmute yourself if you want to talk, or you can chat in and answer as well, but it helps to unmute yourself during this time. How would it inspire? What would they think? And how would they resolve the issue?
So I was in the I group. So
good. Thank you.
Sorry,
Sharon.
my thing wouldn't unmute. It just did. We kind of thought that they would look around and take the temperature of the room and see how everybody else felt. And if they should say something like in a kind of fun, joking way, but it's time to move.
Yeah. Spot on, Sharon, spot on. Because they're so fun loving and they don't want to, offend anyone, or they don't want to ruffle any feathers. They would probably say something, if they did, it would be in a fun way. They make a joke or something like, well, I guess they didn't see I was in line here. They do it in a very joking way. So great job on that. Good job. Let's give a round of applause for Sharon speaking up. All right, for the S group, who's our spokesperson for the S group, the supporters? Supporters, who wants to help us out here? Oh, yes. So Sharon, it's okay, but since you were in the supporter group, why don't you come on, come on live with us and tell us what you guys discussed. How would you resolve the issue?
We talked about how we thought a supporter would probably not say anything, sort of kind of let them go ahead of them without really saying anything about it, and not wanting to basically like rock the boat kind of thing.
Yes. Yep. Great job on that. Round of applause for them as well. And for supporters on the part of what would you think, our supporters would probably give them the benefit of the doubt. They must have something crucial that they need to get done, more so than me. So I might as well just let them, right? They would give that to them. All right. And last but not least, our C's, our calculators. Who is speaking for our calculator group? All right.
Very well.
There we go. Thank you, Sarah.
We talked about them really being thoughtful about how they would respond. If they would respond, they hold back a little bit as the calculator and decide if it's worth it or not. They also need to take a stock of, is this going to waylay me more than what I'm already waylaid on the rest of my errands? And then the possibility of maybe not making a confrontation of that moment, but talking to the teller or someone on their way out about how they could fix the line so that there was clearly marked for others.
Brilliant job on that. Good job. Good job. and round of applause. Yeah, I love that. They would, that's the first time I've heard someone say that on the way out. They would say, hey, here's how you can make this process better. Or maybe go to the person, and if they did say something to them and say, you may not know that this is how it works. But they would definitely be thinking about the rest of their day. Exactly like you said there. Okay, this is going to put me off this much, and now I've got about 10 more minutes on this. So great job on that. So now we're going to do one that is actually, we're going to go to the we're going to go to your industry now that you understand how this works, and hopefully you'll be in a different DISC than you were last time. A teenager just did something to get expelled from school. Bum, bum, bum. And they aren't being responsive to authority. So you get called in as their advocate to help the situation. Now, first of all, what would make a high, remember we're going the highest level of each personality style, a high D, I, S, or C teenager, what would make them act out? So this is remembering their peeves. This is remembering things that, certain things like not being isolated, right? Or other peeves that they have. What would make them act out, and how could you approach them to get the best outcome? This is a little tougher because you're dealing with other circumstances piled on top of this as well. So, so we're gonna do breakout groups again. You're gonna have 4 minutes this time. All right, 4 minutes to go through. Make sure you volunteer someone in your group to help share it with the group afterwards. All right, we'll go to the breakout rooms.
All right, looks like everyone should be back.
Okay, all right, so who was our D group? Our Ruby's group were the Ds. So Ruby, who wants to speak for your group? And come on out and share with us.
That was me.
Okay.
And we talked about how we would sort of want to look at the situation, because if the student is a driver personality, then we talked about how the conflict could be the student in a situation where they don't feel like they have any control over the situation, or maybe they weren't given clear enough, instructions or something so that they understand, what they're working towards, or maybe they don't feel challenged or something like that. So we kind of talked about how we would want to understand that. And then in working with the student, maybe helping motivate them by giving them some choices to choose from, giving them a clear understanding of, you know, what's expected of them, and then letting them have some control in the situation, and kind of make sure they're being challenged to maybe take on sort of that responsibility, and starting with that to see how we can help.
Oh my gosh, great insight, you guys. That was phenomenal. Definitely clapping, a round of applause for that. Thank you so much for sharing. Gosh, this is something y'all want to probably go back and watch this part again, because this is so insightful. All right, Julian's group, the I's, the Inspirers. Who is going to speak for them? Our Inspirers. Either Julian or anybody that went in that group that wants to come out.
I suppose I will speak. I was just talking about how kind of when I worked back with child welfare and when I worked with my teens who, you know, were very social, I would take them out to ice cream or out to eat and just kind of talk with them, give them praise and let them know, you know, what they're doing great in, and then whatever things that were going on and we needed to work on their different behaviors. We would I kind of asked them, you know, what's going on, and then we would come up with rewards that they could work towards.
That is so great, Julian. Thank you. Oh, let's big round of applause for that. Love that. All you had to say was ice cream and you had me. All right. Okay, Brianna's group, the S's. Brianna's group, come on down. Whoever is going to be speaking for this group.
It's me.
All right, Sarah.
So, for the supporter, we each sat in why they would be expelled. Supporters don't like conflict. They're usually more amiable and polite. So we thought that it might have to do something with a direct question. Maybe they just didn't answer. Again, that teacher just kind of running that. But we would pull them into a quiet environment and just talk to them about how we appreciate their personality, give them some time to process what happened in that event, and then let them know that they're safe and comfortable in this environment, that they can talk when they're ready to discuss whatever happened.
Oh, that is so good. So good. Thank you. Let's give a round of applause. This is awesome, you guys. This is such great insight for each of you that you're giving us. Okay, the last group, Liz's group, the calculators. Come on down. Either Liz or someone else in your group. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Scott. I'll talk. We discussed it two ways. The first way we talked about it was if the child was a C. We weren't sure if we're supposed to be if the child was the C or if the worker was the C. So we kind of discussed both scenarios. When we talked about the teenager, we said, you know, that they probably are looking for structure, whether it's at home or at school. They're looking for systems that are going to support them, predictability. And if they're not receiving that, then they're going to act out or act, you know, what would look unpredictable to everyone else. And if we said it was the worker, our thought was that person would have a lot of concrete steps and actions, resources, pamphlets to hand them, referrals that they could make, where it would be a very almost transactional but the person would have a lot of the resources ready to go and be prepared for almost any scenario that could emerge.
Awesome, Scott, thank you. That is good. Kudos to your group. Round of applause for them. Great insight into that. Love it. Y'all, that was amazing. And I hope that you continue to use this. All right, the last part of this is I want to see what you've learned. So when you know the answer, you can either unmute yourself for this part. We can have a little fun. You can just shout it out, or you can type it into the chat box, whatever you want to do. When you know the answer though, try not to look at your worksheets that we went through. See if you can just remember what we've learned from today. All right, ready? What does D represent in DISC? Yeah, driver, there you go. Sharon, Maria, Brianna, Elizabeth, yeah, you guys got it. Driver. Okay, what's their primary need? See if you can remember this one. Primary need. Getting results. Yes, there you go. Yep, there you go. Getting results. Got Cynthia, Terry, and Sarah. Getting results. All right, what's an I represent in DISC? Inspirer. Yes. All right, and what is their primary need? Having fun. Elizabeth, Carla, Brianna, that's right. All right, what does S represent in DISC? Yes, supporter. You guys know where I'm going with this now, don't you? And what is their primary need? There you go. Yep, Sarah, Crystal, Maria, Terry, Cynthia, peaceful environment. And what does C represent in DISC? Calculator, that's right. And what is their primary need? Being correct. Yeah, you all got that in there quick. Okay, what is a driver's communication style? All right. Oh, look at how fast that was, you guys. Yeah, Crystal, Sharon, Terry, direct. All right, what's an inspires communication style? Crystal, she had it in there before I even finished the question. Interactive, love it. And what is a supporter's communication style? There you go, Brianna says, sweet. You got it. And what is a calculator's communication style? Yes, Crystal says certainty. Absolutely correct. Okay, bonus question. Bonus question, y'all. Let's see who can get this one. What percentage of your success is due to your people skills? Did I go over this one? I'm not even sure if I went over this earlier. Carla got it though. It was in my introduction. 85% of your success is due to your people skills. And this is according to a Carnegie Institute study. Look, you know, I get one question every time I do like a DISC training, whether it's this or all day one. And the answer is, the question is, if I'm always communicating with someone in their preferred communication style, well, don't I come across as being unauthentic? And I think that's a very valid question. So I want to go ahead and answer it for you if any of you are thinking this. I'm not asking you to be someone else all the time. I'm suggesting, however, that you learn to visit someone else's communication style when it's going to serve that relationship best and help you get a better outcome with them. All right. 2 ways you can communicate from here on out, either like a turkey on a turkey farm, all the turkeys gather around an injured turkey and peck at its wound until it bleeds to death. And I know it's gross. So how many people would think it's cruel that an animal would do that to its own kind? And it makes me think how people go home at the end of every day feeling pecked to death because we don't understand each other's differences. So instead of communicating like a turkey, I suggest you communicate like a chameleon who adapts for survival purposes and for thriving, for repelling potential predators and attracting their mates. And last but not least, I want to remind you that it's not your IQ that makes you successful in life, it's your I will that does. And my challenge to you is be willing to take off those lenses you normally see the world through and be willing to put on the lenses of that person that you're building a relationship with and that you want a better outcome with as well. All right, guys, thank you so much for all your participation today. You were phenomenal. You made this work today and you had great insight on those case studies. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. We had a great time. We learned a lot. If you are on this training, it means that I'm going to be able to send you a copy of Betsy's book. And so I'm going to have to get your address to do that. So the way I'm going to do that is send you all a link to a feedback survey later today. And if you will complete the feedback survey and then share with me your address, we will get these out in the mail to you later this month. And I just want to thank you so much for participating, and we will hopefully see you next time. Thank you all so much. Have a great, great week.
Thank you.